Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hub World podcast. May the fourth be with you,
May the fourth be with you.
and also with you, and with your Force Ghost. So, as if you can't tell already, we are doing a Star Wars episode for May the 4th. We don't really have Star Wars news to talk about, so we thought this will be just kind of like a shorter special, and it's just going to be us because we haven't done so very much yet, aside from one of our earlier episodes where we talked about video gaming. We're just going to give you our opinions on Star Wars, which, as with everybody's opinions on Star Wars, tend to be something that you will fight and argue over. But we're going to talk about our favorite Jedi, our favorite Sith, and our rankings of the main Skywalker Saga films. So, today we are here. I am Jules from the Hub World, and I'm joined by
Matteo from the Hub World.
And for the making his debut appearance, Qui-Gon Gino. Eh? Yeah, okay.
That was terrible.
Sorry, I had to.
You're terrible.
Well, sorry, Mr. Skywalker. Didn't think you'd take offense to that. This
It's-
should be a fun one, yeah.
wait. But
Wait, Riley's here?
Yeah.
Riley is here.
Lurking in the shadows.
Riley is here.
That's
Or
right.
shall we call him Rayleigh?
Please don't.
No.
Never do that.
Please don't call it that. I even take offense to that.
Darth Gingis, how about that?
Darth Veed.
Darth Veed, okay.
Rilo.
Lord Veed.
Oh, yeah,
Rilo.
Rilo Ken also works.
Rilo
Rilo
Ken.
Ken. Okay, silly Star Wars names aside, yeah, May the 4th be with us all on this very momentous of all fandom days. Should we start
I'm
with
Master-
Jedi?
I'm Master Juluminara.
Jules
That's
Minara?
mine. Juluminara. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with them. Anyway, we can start with. Let's start with Jedi because Jedi are boring.
Hey.
Excuse me?
My favorite Star Wars characters are Jedis. Or
Then
Jedi.
You are
Jedi.
lost.
Get out. You're automatically banned. Get out of the podcast.
You are lost.
Are you, I'm
the
sensing
plural
some
of
Empire-
Jedi is Jedi. It's not Jedi.
I corrected myself.
Wait, plural of Jedi is Jedi, not Jedis. Okay.
Yes, I corrected myself.
All right.
Okay.
So, okay, here's the case. So we're gonna talk Jedi Sith, top Jedi Sith. But I know what I'll ask this question when we get there. But let's talk Jedi. So I don't think we need to rank them. But let's all just say who our favorite Jedi is, like our number one. And if you want to mention two, that's okay. But let's just all try to say one for now. Like, who's your favorite
hard.
Jedi? And this can
Well-
be from games. This can be from films. This can be from literature. Like whatever you want.
Okay.
We should do
so,
Jedi, Sith, and then like non-Jedi Sith character.
Alright.
Okay.
So I
And-
was
Oh, wait, hold on.
Hold up. For the non-Jedi Sith character, you mean non-Force user or just not one who?
I'm
no
gonna
one-
say that's what I was gonna say. Is I want to clarify that. So I think for the purpose of this, we can classify Force using characters if they typically do have an alignment with that. So, for example, even though Asajj Ventress isn't actually a Sith, she's a Dark Jedi. If you're gonna say favorite Sith, I would put her there. Same with like Ahsoka Tano, say her in Jedi. Kylo Ren wasn't really a Sith, but say him under Sith. Whereas if you're gonna say a character who's like actually like non-affiliated ever with Jedi Sith, but is a Force user, like I can't remember his name for the fucking life of me, but the guy from Rogue One, the blind,
Forces with me.
I'm on with the
Yeah.
Donnie Yan's
Force with me guy?
character.
yeah. If you want, like you wouldn't call him a Jedi because he's Force user, but he's like not affiliated with anything. That's the way I'm looking at it, at least. That's why I think you should look at it.
Okay. So I want to start because I know someone else is probably going to say this, but my favorite Star Wars character, period, is also my favorite Jedi. That's Obi-Wan Kenobi. So,
Yep, I was gonna say that too.
yeah, Obi-Wan is a boss. Like, he's hilarious. He's Obi-Wan. He's not the best lightsaber combatant, I don't believe, but he's very skilled with the Force. And also, like, when they announced the Obi-Wan Disney Plus series, originally I think it was supposed to be a movie, but like like for years, everyone's wanted Obi-Wan story, like Ewan McGregor to reprise the role of Obi-Wan, just
Hello
for a
there.
reason. Like that character is just super iconic, and just his witty dialogue with Anakin. Like people say what you want about the prequels, but I think everyone can find common ground with the fact that Obi-Wan was awesome in those movies, and Obi-Wan also was in Episode 4 and has fans from that era of Star Wars. Like he's just a super likable character, and he's just fantastic, and I just can't wait for that new show. So
Yeah, I'm gonna echo what Matteo said here with Ewan McGregor's performance.
that's
Of
honestly like most of it is stems from Ewan McGregor. My love for the character
yeah,
stems from Ewan McGregor, but like he's
yeah,
good in Clone Wars too and stuff. So
yeah, and like that's the thing. Like I haven't seen too much. Like I still have to actually like go and watch Clone Wars proper through because like I've picked up a few episodes here and there, and like I really like the characterization of Obi-Wan like that was in that show because I was also a big fan of of Ewan McGregor's performance in episodes 2 and 3, and
kind of one.
yeah, and in all of the memes. Obi-Wan memes are great. You have him and General Grievous, just the hello there. It's just good stuff. That's just my favorite Obi-Wan Star Wars. Like Star Wars meme probably is it's probably hello there. I like that one. Even though like there's a lot of good ones, but like memes, quality stuff. Shout out to prequel memes. Like and subscribe if you're a prequel memer. But yeah, I'm not gonna go too much further into that. And like you have some great characters and stuff on the light side. Like I really liked like General Koda's stuff from the Force Unleashed series. I wish that they could have done more with his character and like being like the blind master leading a student. Like I find that was like really cool. And they could have gone more, but like Obi-Wan still number one for me.
Mine's gotta
Okay.
be, Barriss Ophi.
Get out. Leave.
I'm joking.
What?
I have no idea who that is.
No
Barriss,
idea who that is.
Master Luminara's Padawan who like turned dark side in Clone Wars. Remember her, Barriss?
Oh, is she the one that had like the most like in Disneyland when they had build your own lightsabers? Like
No, that was
no, that's
Maris
Maris
Brood.
Brood.
Good
That's
old
Maris
Maris
Brood.
Brood. No,
Never
Barriss is the
mind.
one. Barriss is like the alien. She's like she has like a hood and like she was like Ahsoka Tano's friend, and then she turns, and she's part of the reason why Ahsoka starts to like doubt the Order because of the way they treat Barriss after she turned. Anyway, that was obviously a joke. My favorite Jedi is probably, I mean, it's close. It's between a few, but I think ultimately it's Qui-Gon Jinn. Just because I like his philosophies, and I think they align a lot with like my philosophies as a human, which is like I like when I look at religion, like I understand the purpose of religion, and sometimes my values lie with particular religions, but I also understand the dangers of like organized religion. I relate a lot to Qui-Gon in that sense, where he's like, I like the Jedi values, I appreciate what the Jedi are doing, but clearly like the system is flawed and needs to be reworked, and there needs to be more like there needs to be more awareness around this, and I like that aspect of his character where he's not quite gray Jedi. Like he hasn't quite left the Jedi Order because he still like believes in a lot of their values, but he also is there to like challenge and acknowledge that like there's shit that you're doing that's wrong and that needs to
Yeah.
be reworked. And I like that aspect of him.
All right. Well, it's hard for me to pick a favorite. I have quite a few that I would want to like mention, but like as a general rule of thumb, I don't really like Jedi all that much. Most of the ones who I'd pick for this Jedi topic would be like Force fluid, really. Like they
Force
kind of
fluid.
shift between like characters like Anakin or Kreia
Or Maris
or
Brood.
no, not Maris Brood, or someone like Kyle Katarn.
Or Juhani.
No, I don't like Juhani that much. Bastille's better than Juhani. But Jolie is sick as fuck. Oh, pardon my French. Jolie is
It's okay,
awesome.
I've sworn.
Everybody gets
But
one.
I think I know it's a base. Like one of them's a base. Well, actually, they're both kind of basic picks. But I mean, it's really hard for me to choose between Anakin and Revan. In that case, I'm a real sucker for the whole fallen hero sort of shtick.
But wasn't like with Revan like the one thing that like I've always like questioned about Revan isn't like Revan who you want Revan to be like as you play through.
Canonically though, there's a story that it follows.
I mean, canonically he was the Dark Lord of the Sith. Like he was a Jedi and then he became the Dark Lord of the Sith. And then after that, oh yeah, sorry, spoilers for KOTOR, which is how old now?
20 years old. It's
Yeah,
okay.
it's okay.
Yeah,
Like
I think we
18 years
talked
old at
about
this
the
point.
story. We gave story spoilers for KOTOR in the last Star Wars episode, so
I think
Yeah.
so.
fair game.
No, we did.
Yeah, but who knows? They might get a remake soon, so it could be fresh for some people.
No, I'm pretty
I
sure it
think-
is getting a remake
It's
now.
still
but
remastered.
That's
That's neither here
Anyway.
nor there. But
Yep.
okay, so like, what's the canonical story of Revan then?
The canonical story is he was Jedi. He went off to fight the Mandalorian Wars. At some point, I don't actually know how Tor influenced it because I kind of repressed Tor as being a thing. So supposedly the Sith Emperor from in the Unknown Regions had some influence on him. He turned, came back as a Sith, tried to kill the Republic, or not kill it, but take over. Then Malak betrayed him, and then the Jedi captured him or mind wiped him, and then he was a good guy again. And
And
then
then didn't he go dark side a little bit again?
Yeah,
later?
Tor retconned it again. He's like, he went crazy and went dark and went light, and it's a mess with that.
Yeah, he bounces back and forth a lot.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, he's what I also like. He's similar to Qui-Gon in the sense that, like, even though he bounces back and forth, he's never really fully Jedi or Sith ideals. He's like, I follow the Jedi, but like I also see the flaws in them, and I think they're doing things wrong. And even when he's a Sith, he's not like completely power obsessed like Malik or like some of the other Sith we see in like the movies. He's very much like using the dark side can be beneficial. Like he's very like I feel like the way they've characterized Revan has always been like he's choosing the side that he thinks is better for the world. He's
Yeah.
not really like he's very much
He's-
the hero of his own story.
Yeah, he's like how I always what I always thought of Revan is he makes the Force serve him as opposed to serving the Force.
Yeah, he's not like wacky evil like Palpatine. He's just like I'm trying to do what's best for the world, and like different things suit me at different times.
Oh yeah, and I like Vader because he's a sad boy.
But what about Kylo Ren, who's like angsty boy?
Him too. But I can't really. He wouldn't really fit in the Jedi top category, would he?
Oh no, not Jedi. No.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Anakin's angry sad boy, so I relate.
Okay.
Okay, we ready to move to
I guess
Sith?
that was a good segue, right? Like just
Yeah.
like how Revan can kind of straddle the line a bit. But yeah, and Riley, do you want to go into a little bit more about like which Sith in particular?
Yeah, sure. You want me to say like I
You go
could
ahead.
say that Revan and Vader are my favorite Sith, as like just like Revan and Anakin are two of my favorite Jedi. But I think when it comes to Sith, my clear cut favorite is Nihilus.
Yes.
Ooh.
I like the whole almost Lovecraftian esque horror he adds to the Star Wars universe. Even though, as when Jules played KOTOR, he said he didn't seem to think he did much, which
He
I mean,
didn't. He really didn't.
he had a good presence. And if you played the restored content mod, like I said, if you played it on PC, you would have done more. Would have been better. But you're like, nah.
It wasn't that he did nothing. It's that I was surprised that going into the game, all I had ever heard about the game was about Nihilus, and of the like Sith lords that appear in the game, Nihilus seems to have the smallest presence, and that's where I was like, it's
I think he has the
interesting.
smallest physical presence, but everyone talks about like everyone's terrified
Scared of him. Yeah, but that's why I'm just surprised that like he had such a big impression, not only like in the game universe, but also just like beyond the game universe. Like me as somebody outside of all of this had only ever heard of Nihilus, not the other two, when the other two play such a much bigger role in the actual narrative than he does.
Remember,
Well,
like this is that like KOTOR and stuff was like around during like the proto internet and like when things were starting to like heat up more. Like there wasn't really a
Yeah.
lot of like internet talk, but there was a lot of
I
like
know.
friends at like conventions
true.
stuff talking about like, oh my god, this Darth Nihilus character, let's
I think
talk. And
True,
lot-
and that's like a lot of it came from Riley because he likes Darth Nihilus.
he's
Yeah.
the Lord of Hunger. He's the patron Sith of Fat Riley.
Yeah,
patron Sith of Fat Riley consume.
But yeah, the thing I think was like the reason why I think Nihilus left such an indelible impression on the fandom is because of the way they present him in game. Like, there's so much build up to his reveal and what he's gonna do, and I think he had a fantastic design to his character. The
Mhm.
fact he doesn't speak a word of basic is pretty cool. He speaks in like the language of the Force itself. Really adds to the whole. I don't know, makes him
Like a
seem more
mysterious
chilling.
character.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mystery.
Yeah, the
Kind of like
fact that he eats
Herobrine.
worlds is also pretty cool.
Yeah.
So he's basically Darth Unicron or Darth
Galactus.
Galactus. Yeah,
Sort of, yeah.
yeah, that's it's pretty solid. Pretty solid, Matteo.
Giuliano is probably going to do a better job of explaining my favorite because I'm pretty sure it's his favorite as well. I'm going to pass it off to him, and I might pitch in a little bit after that. But
Wait. Okay.
Just say what
So
it
you're
is
not
first.
saying mine?
I want you to say it first.
Okay. So you want me to go?
Yep.
Okay. I am the household obsessor of the greatest Sith Lord of all time, Darth Sidious, aka Emperor Palpatine.
Chief
Um,
Palpatine.
Sheev,
The
good old
Senate.
Sheev, the Senate. Yes, also known as the Senate, also known as all the Sith.
Ugh.
I mean, that's the thing is why choose one when you can have them all by picking Darth Sidious?
Dear gosh. I still don't understand why they did it.
Frick! Now I'm mad I didn't say all the Jedi when we did Jedi. Um, but I'm a very big fan of Palpatine. I own a silicone Palpatine mask that I wear sometimes to pictures with Santa Claus.
Sometimes.
Can we please insert that photo here? Okay.
We could.
The business Sith.
Yeah.
One year, one year we did the business Sith, and then we did ugly Christmas sweater Sith.
Well,
Oh
the
gosh.
full story is that when we were going to see episode 7, some of us were going to cosplay. So Gino was wearing a Darth Vader helmet, and our other friend Robin, who may or may not appear on the podcast in the future, he was wearing a Darth Maul mask, and they were at a mall, and they decided there was Santa there, so they decided to take a picture with him in these Star Wars costumes. And so
One of
then
Robin's
the
friends was
next
an
time,
elf. One of
Yep.
Robin's friends with an elf, so we had an in with Santa.
yeah, so they
Yep.
had an in with Santa. So then the next time, 2 years later, when episode 8 came out, we decided before the movie, we're like, we're gonna do it again. But then this time, Gino and Robin couldn't make it, so it was just me and Riley. So I had my silicone Emperor Palpatine mask on, and Riley had the Vader helmet, and we took a picture with Santa, but we called it Business Sith, and we wore suits. And then for episode 9, we were actually all 4 of us able to get together, and we went to Santa, and we all wore ugly Christmas sweaters. And Riley was Riley was Vader, I was Palpatine, Gino was Kylo Ren, and Robin was Darth Maul, and we took a picture with Santa. And it
I'm
was
pretty
quite
sure I have
quite
the
fun.
because we also like for the episode 8 one as the business Sith, we all got together in the parking lot and
In the
we had
parking
some
lot, we
photos.
all took pictures.
Yeah,
together.
I'm gonna
Yes,
put that
'cause
photo. I'm gonna
My-
make sure to
yes.
put that photo in.
My
you-
favorite part of the story was the part you left out, where when you put on the mask, you made small children cry.
Yes, small. Or the best part where the holes in the eyes of the silicone mask are so small that I couldn't see myself.
And I had to
So
guide
Riley
you.
as Vader had to like literally escort me through the mall the way like Vader would escort Palpatine by like the arm. It was
That is
quite
dedication to it. That is
that's quite
dedication to
fun.
a character.
Yeah. In
Oh.
any case, I love Palpatine. I'm completely biased when it comes to Palpatine. I think anything he's in is amazing. Anything he says is amazing. I have played Palpatine in a spoof movie we once made. Yeah, I
Yeah.
constantly
He's-
quote Palpatine, constantly
He's
meme Palpatine.
he's the most quotable character in Star Wars movies. Like,
by
Most
far.
memeable character
so
it's
as
good.
well.
not even close. It's not even close.
He's
And like,
so
he's one of
he's
the
like-
most.
I don't know. I think prequel Anakin has a shot.
what I love about Palpatine is, and I don't think any other character in media can do this, but he's like simultaneously so wacky that it's laughable, but also still intimidating in the context of the world. Like it's
Yeah.
like anything he says, we can like meme to a point where we laugh about it, but in the universe, he's not actually like a joke. Like it's very interesting, like the dichotomy that comes with Palpatine, because it's like how does that function? But he's just, I love him as a character. I think his like philosophies and his character are just very interesting, especially when you go into some of his stuff from the EU, as well as some of the stuff in the like current universe. So I just like Palpatine, but we can go on from there.
Yeah, I was also gonna say it.
Ooh.
I was gonna say Palpatine also, but like I guess for like the sake of being different. You know what? I can't think of anything. Like I honestly can't because now I'm just thinking about like us hanging out at Christmas time as the Sith Lords. And
Darth
I'm like,
Maul's pretty cool. Like
Darth
I want
Icky.
to.
yeah. Mateo, be
Darth
my
Maul's
shout out.
pretty cool.
Be my shout out. Go
My
for
shout
it.
out's Darth Maul.
Yeah. Especially like I wasn't expecting Darth Maul to come back, and like I know
It was
like
honestly, I thought that was one of the coolest things. Like that they brought Maul back for Clone Wars. Like that, I just remember like everyone was like a lot of like people were so hyped for that, and it paid off. Like it was done fantastically.
and they
Clone
also
Wars,
hinted at Maul at the end of the Solo movie as well,
yeah,
and that didn't really go anywhere. All the stuff with the dark saber was like really cool as well. It's just I
Yeah.
honestly like you know what, I'm making the commitment today. Tonight is May the 4th. I'm going to start watching Clone Wars. I know Justin started watching, like he finished watching it, and now it's my turn. I gotta do
Yeah.
it because I've just heard nothing but like good things about that show. I've convinced myself. Thank you. Okay, so that's the end of, I guess, the Sith Lord segment. What are we? Are we gonna actually like go and rank the movies and like hate
Well,
each
no,
other
we
for
can-
like the
Well, we have
next
to say
hour?
non Jedi Sith
That one's
character.
so hard for me.
My favorite non Jedi Sith character, even though you could technically throw him under the umbrella term of Sith, but he's not a Sith, so I'm going to use him. Is I like General Grievous. I think he's just really cool. Okay, so here's the thing. My first exposure to General Grievous was in the old Clone Wars, like Samurai Jack animation, and I thought he was so badass. I thought he was so cool, and I loved him. And then, unpopular opinion here.
The 2001
Maybe
Clone Wars like
2003.
mini
It was
saga.
2003.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, 2003.
I-
But yes, but here, this is probably an unpopular opinion. But when I saw episode 3, I liked him even more because he went from being badass to like this bitch. And I love him. I love his character of like this slimy piece of shit like general who's just like doesn't give a shit about anybody, like his superiors or his underlings, and will just like run from a fight. But he's also very physically intimidating when he chooses to fight, but he's also just like the first to run. He's like, not like, I'm leaving, I'm just gonna. He's like the kind of person who would just like go. He's the kind of person who would lie his way through a Riscopoly game to win, and I admire that.
So what you're saying is you're General Grievous.
I'm General Grievous.
Okay.
You're not physically
Run
intimidating
away
at all,
when it
though.
suits you. Fight when it suits you, but mostly
Yeah.
run away.
But mostly run away.
Yeah, I can see why you would like that. That's pretty good. Call me a bit of a bandwagon jumper and stuff with the release of the Mandalorian. I've thoroughly enjoyed Star Wars like properly for like
Baby
probably
Yoda.
the most. Yeah, Baby Yoda is definitely a no. I'm actually gonna say like I really like the actual character of the Mandalorian and like his journey, right? He went from going from like, okay, he's not quite selfish because like he's doing everything to help his clan, right? At the early days, taking in those bounties, doing a lot of work, and accepting literally half the pay in some cases to like basically just pay the bills for his clan of Mandalorians, right? And just that show has, in my opinion, has done so much good for the Star Wars universe because it's okay. Like it's just it's a western, right? Like I really like that western kind of like it's cowboys in space, and I've recommended that show to so many different people, especially like my older family that grew up watching shows like Gunsmoke or Bonanza and things like that, and they have no means like knowing anything Star Wars, and they've come back to me and say, "Wow, this is actually really good." It reminds me of my childhood when I was young watching those shows and everything, and it's just like what they're able to do with that character. It's like it's also kind of like video game progression in a certain sense as well. Like the Mandalorian starts off with like bad armor, bad abilities, And as he's going through the show, he's getting upgrades. He's getting his Beskar plate. He's getting different weapons, different tools and stuff, kind of upgrading his arsenal as well, to the point where it's like, okay, last upgrade, you got your jetpack. Here you go. And then like most recently in at the end of season 2, he got a really nice upgrade. I'm going to avoid spoils because it is still kind of fresh, but that moment was just really cool. And like his attachment to the child, he goes from like not really caring too much about anyone outside of his clan to like basically betraying his own code to do what he can to help to help Baby Yoda out. And it's just I
You know
find
his name is
that
Grogu.
yeah, no, it's Baby Yoda. And it just I find that like his character, like his story, his arc, where his character is going, the Star Wars, like the like outside of the Skywalker saga is in a really good place right now, and I really like that. So I'm gonna have to say, yeah, the Mandalorian is definitely my favorite non-Force user or non-affiliated character.
I'm happy Gino mentioned someone that isn't a Force user, because my second favorite character, formerly my favorite character of Star Wars, and Giuliano's favorite character, in the original trilogy, Han Solo. Han Solo is my favorite. Uh, he's my second favorite character. Han Solo, very similar character progression as Mando. Like he started off as very, reserved. Only he really cared about was Chewie and the Millennium Falcon. He was a smuggler. He was a scumbag. He was a nerf herder. He, he was all about himself, all about getting money and swindling and stuff. And then when he met Luke, he met Leia, met Obi-Wan. He finally learned what it meant to be in, to have like a family, to have a a good like base, a good home, like he found a home outside of the Millennium Falcon with those characters, and they gave explanation or whatever about why he's the way he is from Solo. It wasn't the greatest, but like still Han Solo, he's in a lot of ways he's the heart of the original trilogy. He's like the normal person. He's the guy that would react that way. A lot of people would act that way if they were just dragged into this uh crazy world. And Han Solo, like, to me, he was just one of the most relatable characters in the original trilogy, and I was very crushed. I knew it was going to happen in Force Awakens, with what Harrison Ford said or whatever, but still, it still hurt. And Gino knows, like, watching Han give his final sacrifice. Uh, it was one of the most emotional moments I've had watching a movie. And
I think you almost cried, or like
well,
actually did cry in
I
that
was
scene.
I was no, the only time I've ever cried in a movie was when I watched Toy Story 3, but it still really hurt. So, but yeah, Han Solo is still like one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars.
Okay, who's left?
I think it's you, Gino. No, you did Mando.
No. Yeah, I said Mando. You said Han.
Yeah.
I think Jules has his favorite non-Force user.
I already said it. I said Grievous.
Oh,
Yep.
shoot,
So
yeah.
we've all done it
Just
then.
Riley.
Oh, no,
Okay,
Riley,
me.
yeah.
Okay, so
A
still-
Tauntaun?
no, it's not Tauntaun. It's really hard for me to decide because it's between, well, the one that like everyone knows I like Boba, but it's hard for me to say he's my favorite.
I know, Riley. You don't even have to say it. We know it's Maz Kanata.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Definitely
100%.
Maskanata.
Yeah, we can just end
Or
it now.
purple hair lady from episode 8.
Holdo?
Admiral
I'm
Holdo, or
terrible
maybe
with names.
Rose, Rose Tico.
Rose Tico, definitely.
Okay, but like Boba's definitely up there, but for me, it's like my favorite. I want to give an honorable mention to HK, but that's because I have huge KOTOR bias. That's also the reason I like Candros. But if it's so hard for me to pick a non-Force user because I like so many more non-Force users than I do like Force users.
Is
Um,
HK the robot from
yeah, HK is the
Rogue
robot,
One?
the droid you never used.
From Rogue One?
No, that's
No,
K2SO.
I'm joking. I was just trying to bust
No.
your balls.
I hate you. I really like Boba. I really like Thrawn. But I think it comes down to Canderos and from KOTOR, and then a character named Cal Scarata from the Republic Commando novels. Because in my
Ooh.
opinion, those two are the epitome of what it means to be Mandalorian. And before they had the Mandalorian show, those two characters were the absolute font of all of most knowledge of what Mandalorian culture is supposed to be in the EU prior
Yeah.
to all that retconning that everyone was so happy about. Um,
Ugh.
so I don't know.
Yeah, you can have two, Riley. You can have those. You can have two.
Yeah. So those
Yeah.
two were, I don't know. I just what they did for Mandalorian lore and culture is makes
Kind of
them
like,
very special to me.
yeah, kind of set the stage for what we now have.
I mean, they kind of swept a lot of it under the rug, but that's okay.
Well, hey, it still influenced everything, right? So,
Yeah, I guess.
and it's not that it's not canon. It's not that it's like if Disney doesn't put anything out that outright it's still canon unless there's something something new outright contradicts the old stuff.
Yeah. Well, that should be something we can talk in another podcast because I don't want to go on a
Yeah.
40-minute tangent about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, about those two characters, I like them because they're basically grizzled old war vets with big dad energy.
So yeah, after I guess we can like go into the movie section of our program. If
Yeah,
you've stuck with us,
yeah, we have. I feel like we've already made it past this being a mini episode.
full on proper.
So
We can still
I
like
think
whittle it down
what
to,
we
like,
should
under
just
50.
say. I think all we should say. We can have a post after. Let's just each say our ranking and then what we think we would say is our favorite trilogy, and then we can have a discussion following that.
All right.
Okay.
So your ranking and then what your favorite trilogy is. Shall I begin?
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah,
Jules, you
let's
start.
get the worst out of the way.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's see. I gotta quantify this. I gotta think. So I gotta look at them. Sorry, even though they're just numbers, I gotta all Skywalker Saga movies just so I have them on the screen.
Clickety
Here we go.
clackety, look at him hackety.
Okay, so here we go. So I would say my number one, my favorite is like pretty easily Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I know like plot wise, it's not the most concrete, but like I have the controversial opinion of I think all Star Wars is pretty like I love Star Wars with every fiber of my being, but I think all Star Wars movies are kind of a mess. And so I don't think Revenge of the Sith is any more of a mess than the ones that everybody else considers to be good. I also personally just like the characters of the prequels like substantially more than the other trilogies, and Revenge of the Sith is easily the height of that era. And there's just so many even though it's fan service, it's just so great. Like watching Yoda fight the Emperor and watching Anakin and Obi-Wan fight and Grievous. So it's just so good. And then I would say after Revenge of the Sith, I would probably say Return of the Jedi. Again, because I have hardcore Palpatine bias, and Palpatine being in Episode 6 makes it my favorite of the originals. And then following that one is probably Episode 5. Then I would, yeah, so it goes Episode 3, Episode 6, Episode 5, right? Then it's probably Episode 7, which I consider to be the strongest of the sequel trilogy. I know a lot of people think it's rehash, blah, blah, blah. I completely disagree with those people. When you actually look at things from a narrative standpoint, every single story in existence is like one of 4 stories or whatever, one of 6 stories. I can't remember what the number is. But like it shares a lot of the same beats, and I get that, but like that was the point, and there was enough different that I did feel like it was a different movie, and I think people like to really like, I can't remember the word. I'm looking for the right word to describe what people do to it, but it's okay. I think people don't give it enough credit. But anyway, it was a strong start to the sequel trilogy. After that, in my opinion, it would go Rise of Skywalker, which again, my Palpatine bias is showing, but as much as I think Rise of Skywalker was a bit of a hot mess, I also am forgiving of that hot mess because I know it was them having to pack two movies into one because The Last Jedi destroyed a lot of the seeds that were planted in episode 7. That being said, the one that comes after that one is The Last Jedi for me because I actually did really like The Last Jedi. I just acknowledge that it kind of messed up the trilogy. And then following Last Jedi would probably be A New Hope. And then it's Phantom Menace, and then it's Attack of the Clones. So just to
Really?
reiterate, it goes Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi, New Hope, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones.
I
So-
agree. Yeah.
And
okay.
what's your favorite? What would you say would be your favorite trilogy then?
This is the one where I can't even say any of them are my favorite trilogy. Like realistically, like I like make a lot of jokes, but if I'm being like hardcore serious, none of them are my favorite trilogy because this is my hot take, which you all know, but people at home don't know. I think the originals are the worst trilogy. But that being said, that doesn't totally align with my ranking because I put 2 of the 3 movies of the originals in my top 3. So that being said, I don't know if that's fully true, but like I don't think the originals are the best trilogy. I don't think they're the worst one. But this is the thing is I would be inclined to say, well, if it's not the originals, I'd be inclined to say, well, the prequels are the best trilogy, but realistically, the only one I really love of the prequels, I love the world of the prequels, but I only really love Revenge of the Sith because the other 2 are my bottom 2. The one that's consistent is the sequels, but I also, in good faith, can't say that the sequels is the best trilogy. Although I will say it just to get the rise out of everybody, which is, I guess, mathematically, the sequels are my favorite trilogy. But I don't think any of them are because genuinely, I think the originals are. As you know, I don't like the originals for one reason only, which isn't that I don't like the plot. It's that I think all the characters in the original trilogy are boring. Every single character, aside from one character, Darth Vader, is better in the other trilogy they appear in. Obi-Wan, better in the prequels. Yoda, better in the prequels.
I don't know about that one.
Palpatine, better in the prequels. Luke Skywalker, better in the sequels. Han Solo, better in the sequels. Leia, better in the sequels. Chewie, not good at all because all he does is roar. So
You shut your
C-3PO and
mouth.
The best
R2D2.
part
Shut your
about Han
mouth.
Solo in the sequels is him dying.
Okay, you know what? I'll give you this. C-3PO and R2D2
Tell
are
that
the
to
only
Kanji
they're,
Club.
they're good in the originals. They're the
Tell
ones
that
that
to
are
Country
in the
Club.
originals. That's their best. But that's my argument is because I don't like the core cast of the originals. I find Luke to be whiny and annoying. I find Han Solo to be stupidly overrated and just like an asshole, and I don't like his character. I find Leia to be plain, and I just don't like her. The only character I really like in the sequels, or sorry, in the originals, is Lando. Lando's interesting. Like he's the only one I find interesting. But whereas I find Leia, Luke, and Han hella interesting in the sequels. I find what they're doing in the sequels way more interesting than what they were doing in the originals. And
But that's
I
like
think
just the style of movies being like back then. If you watched like 70s movies and stuff, like
I
a
guess
lot of them
so,
were
but
like very like the characters were pretty plain.
I guess so, but I'm just saying, like, I think that a lot of the reasons people hate the sequels are the reasons why I like the sequels. Because I think a lot of what people hate about the sequels is the way they handled the original characters, because people find them inconsistent or they do things that you wouldn't expect them to do in the originals. But that's what I like about them, because I'm like, these are real characters because they've gone through development over like an actual like era of a world that makes sense. Like they're actually challenging these characters and they're becoming interesting. Luke isn't just some poster boy Mary Sue, like I'm going to be optimistic about everything. He's actually like had to deal with the realities of the world and they've become overbearing on him. And Leia's actually had to like become like a war general and make sacrifices the way that she never had to in the original. And Han Solo's actually had to grow the fuck up. And it just I find them more interesting in the sequels.
Yep.
That being said, like I said, I have issues with the sequels because it doesn't feel like a coherent story because The Last Jedi kind of put a fork in things. Although I do like The Last Jedi. But so for me, I don't think I have a favorite sequel or a favorite trilogy. I think all the trilogies have good movies and bad movies, but ultimately if I'm going just by characters, I'm going to say the prequels.
Just quickly, like I think I'm not gonna say what my favorite trilogy is. I want to say what my favorite era of Star Wars is instead, because I think that probably makes more sense. So, but
What
I'm gonna
era,
go
like,
from
are you talking about era like in Star Wars or era when like in our world
Rise
when
of
Star Wars?
the Skywalker Saga era.
Okay.
yeah. So, I'm gonna do my list from my least favorite to my most favorite. So I think, so I got my list here. My least favorite Star Wars movie, and like I think it's just the one that has the least redeeming qualities to it, and the ones that like I cringe the most or whatever watching it's Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace has got a few good parts like Duel of the Fates and the Gungan March at the end of the movie. Like those are awesome moments, but Jar Jar Binks is still not good for me, and like there's Child Anakin is just like
Child Anakin's the best part of that movie.
no, but like
Are you an
that's the
angel?
thing. It's the Sonic 06 of movies. Like it's like it's just
I'll
if it
try
wasn't
spinning. That's a good trick.
if no one
Yippee!
if it wasn't Star Wars, it'd be like if Star Wars wasn't big, those movies would just like no one would watch them. There's still a joke like in a way, but like anyways, my child Mateo would be upset with me right now, but my second least favorite Star Wars movie is Attack of the Clones. I used to defend Attack of the
Oh, you're
Clones.
going bottom to top.
Yeah, I used
No,
to
he's starting
defend.
with his favorites.
Yeah, I used to defend Attack of the Clones a lot before. I'd say even before the sequel trilogy came out. When we did our rewatch of all the Star Wars movies leading up to Episode 7, and I was really on like I was pro Episode 2, and after watching that movie, I'm like, yeah, it would slowly lower down my or drop down my list, and I just like, it just at the point where like Hayden Christensen is truly at his worst in Episode
Don't
2.
you say that.
I know what you're gonna say. I know like it's like he's got a lot of memeable moments, okay, but like other stuff in there, like that movie would have really helped. Like it would have really benefited if Qui-Gon Jinn came back, but like I know the whole Liam Neeson like accident thing happened, but like and like it's just it's I just the CGs that doesn't hold up. It's just there's a lot of things with Attack of the Clones, like Anakin cutting like that CG pear, like it was just it was so bad. But anyways, now I think it might eventually become my least favorite Star Wars movie because I've only seen it twice, and I still do not like this movie. I don't see what people see in it. It ruined an entire trilogy of Star Wars. It in its Last Jedi. Unlike Giuliano, I absolutely despise what they did with Luke Skywalker in that movie, and his whole like the way he basically the way Luke died in that movie. I think is just completely unforgivable, and like that's a complete slap in the face to one of the most iconic heroes in in cinema. And Ryan Johnson and not Ryan Johnson. Disney should be ashamed of themselves for not having a plan for this $4 billion investment that they made when they bought Lucasfilm, or $8 billion, whatever it was.
It was 4.
The fact that they just said, yeah, you can do whatever the heck you want, and didn't have a plan. It not only messed up episode 8, but it messed up episode 9.
But here's
And
my question for you: aren't these two unrelated things? Because isn't Luke Skywalker's death in Episode 8 completely unrelated to them not having a plan? Because
no, this is
George
yeah,
Lucas recently revealed that like he was killing off Luke Skywalker in his original Episode 8 scripts as
Yeah.
well.
but was it done
So
that same way? I just felt like I just did not.
I doubt
I
it
didn't
was
like.
done that same way. But that's
Yeah,
why I'm curious. I'm
I
just curious why you didn't like his death. Because
Yeah,
I
I
don't
just
know.
thought I don't know. I felt Luke could have. I don't know. I
I
just
think
don't like
that's
the
the
fact
most Jedi way he could have gone out.
Yeah,
Doing it
see, that's
peacefully.
why. See, for me, like I really
Luke was
liked his
just
death
like
because
he
to
was
me,
just too. He was just he w- he was just too like jaded and grizzled and just miserable and
That's
just
what life does.
Mark
and like
Hamill.
totally
Mark Hamill didn't even like that. Like it's just
no, but that's fair.
Supposed
Like
to be the embodiment of
I
hope
understand,
for this entire universe,
but
and
he
he
was at
gave
one
up.
point. But he was at one point. But I understand. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not. I'm not. I understand Matteo not liking the characterization, but I'm curious about the death because I always interpreted what I like. What
he
I liked.
died. He died like I don't know. He died alone. He just I don't know. I
But
just
he died performing what was in the films the greatest
true.
force feat of like all time. Like in the films, like in the context of the films, that's the greatest thing that anybody has ever done with the force, which is project themselves astrally across like a galaxy in order to
Well,
like
up
in the
until
in the
Rise of
film
Skywalker,
until Rise of Skywalker, where Palpatine goes full on like
he uses
Yeah.
Force
like
Storm. But
the
I
force
was
star.
referring to Kylo using using Force Revive that every Force user in KOTOR can get.
Yeah.
But anyways, I mean, I enjoyed Luke. Like I didn't enjoy Luke's death, but I wasn't as upset by it upon like on my second viewing of Last Jedi. But I just remember like that was like the Han Solo moment for me in Episode 7, where like I can't believe this happened this way. It was just a shock, and I didn't like that. That shock has dissipated since. But anyways, like and those three movies, Episode 1, 2, and 8, I'd say those are like my bottom tier. Like they're not good. I don't like them at all anymore. But and then I have as my number 6 is Episode 4. It's the most like boilerplate Star Wars movie. It's got everything in it, but everything else that's come since has done it better, in my opinion. Um, like I enjoy the original cast, and like that movie's just so iconic. So for that, that's why like I have it as like the lowest in like the mid tier of Star Wars movies. Unpopular opinion, and I probably have it highest out of anyone here, but my number 5 is Episode 9. Uh, I just like Giuliano said earlier, is like all Star Wars movies they're all problematic story wise to some extent, and for me, like the fan service in Episode 9, like was so good in my opinion that like it forgave all of that stuff. Like it made the best out of a really shitty situation, and I'm able to see that. And I personally think J.J. Abrams should have had that whole trilogy to himself. So like he kind of rushed 2 movies into like what he would have done in the second movie, and what he would have done in the third movie. Just made one movie. Like the title crawls, like, oh, Palpatine's back. Okay, whatever. Okay, like we'll just who cares? Like I
Yeah, it was
was
very clear
I
they were
was
just trying to
I was
catch
at a
up.
point with Star Wars after Episode 8 where like I just didn't care anymore. I'm watching it out of obligation, and that like that would have bothered me if Episode 8 was like Palpatine wasn't even if Palpatine wasn't even in Episode 8 and they just did this anyways. It would have bothered me a lot. But now that like because of the way I feel about Episode 8, like I just don't care anymore. Just
Yeah.
I
between
just want
that,
I have one nitpick with your what you just said. You say
but
all of them are somewhat problematic, all Star Wars films, you forgot to say except 5 because it's perfect in every
But
way.
5 was problematic when it came out. Like, it was hella controversial. In any case, I put Red Skywalker at 5 as well. And I'd like to say, I don't know if this is true of anybody else, but I've only seen episode 9 once. And I'm
I've
scared
seen
to
it
watch it
twice.
again.
Yeah,
I've seen it
I've seen it
twice.
twice.
I'm gonna be brutally honest. You guys know this, but the listeners don't. Rise of Skywalker was my number 3 coming out of the movie theater. I know. Was it 3 or 4? Like, cause I was always like, was it better than
Sorry, I need
episode
to go.
7?
I need
I
to go
don't
throw
know.
up. Excuse me. Will.
Yeah, but yeah, I think 5 is like it's middle ground almost, right? So it like,
You
but
might have
then
to blaze through the rest, because it's
yeah,
getting.
yeah, I know. So and then episode 6 is my number 4. Uh, for the same reasons Giuliano said, it's Palpatine at its best, but like Ewoks kind of or
Hey,
whatever.
no. Palpatine's at his best in episode 3, but continue.
Yeah, in the original trilogy at least. And then episode 7 is my number 3 for like I everything you said about episode 7, Jules, were like people complain about it saying, "Oh, it's a rehash." No,
Yep. I
it's
remember the word now.
yep.
People are reductionist when talking about that movie. They
Mhm.
reduce it to it's just this plot, whereas there's so much more than just it shares a similar
Like
plot.
episode 7, no joke. I'm willing to say this, but uh aside from various DC movies, it was my most hyped movie of all time.
Yeah, I was pretty hype. That experience
More
was
than
good.
Avengers
And the
Endgame.
thing is,
That
the
was one of the
reason that
greatest movie going experiences I've ever had in my life was watching that movie.
would you agree with me on this too? Like, the reason I think episode 7 is so for me as well, like why it's number 1 for me, is because I didn't come out of that movie disappointed. Like, I really liked that movie, and it was like there was so much hype for that movie and so much fear of like, what if this movie's bad? And then
And
we
it wasn't.
came out of it, and it was like this movie wasn't bad, and it actually set up a ton of good mysteries. And sure, all those mysteries fucking became shit when the other movies came out. But the experience of after episode 7, before we got the other movies, was super compelling. And like, I
Mhm.
feel like all of us were fairly invested in at least one of the characters and at least one of the mysteries. I know Riley really liked the First Order. I really liked the First Order. I did like Rey coming out of the first movie. I
Yep.
liked her less after episode 8, and definitely less after episode 9. But that's why episode 7 is so fond for me, is because it lived up, like it almost like met expectations, like it lived up to the hype for me.
Quickly, because I have to talk about my 2 and my number 1, but quickly, last thing about episode 8 I want to touch on is that movie broke the science or whatever you want to call it of Star Wars by having the kamikaze friggin' uh the hyperspace kamikaze
Yeah.
guys. I can't stand that.
I'm very
But
much an
anyways,
episode 8 apologist. That is one of my biggest nitpicks of that one.
yeah. So anyways, my number 2 is Empire Strikes Back. Uh Probably the best Star Wars movie, not my favorite. And then because probably if Riley wants to talk about episode 5, I'll let him say it because it's all my opinions are basically his. And once again, episode 3 is my. I agree with Giuliano. It's my all-time favorite Star Wars movie. That movie basically made me a fan of Star Wars. I was the right we were the right age to enjoy that movie when it came out. Like that was our era of Star Wars with the prequels, and episode 1 and 2 are my least favorite, but episode 3 is my absolute most favorite. Like Obi-Wan, like I said, Obi-Wan Kenobi makes that movie fantastic. The fight scenes between Obi-Wan and Anakin and Palpatine and Yoda, whatever. Order 66 is gut wrenching, and
Depends on
great.
whose side you're on.
Well, I know it
Wow.
still, and Order 66 is amplified by other media you watch or consume in Jedi Fallen Order, Clone Wars, what have you. It's just seeing that event, and like even in Mandalorian, it's touched upon. Like it's that event, the ripples that event had throughout the entire galaxy. It's just fascinating. So, and then my favorite era of Star Wars is the prequels. So, like, there's so much to love about the prequels now, especially since we've had uh Clone Wars and other games and things like that. So yeah, that's my opinions of Star Wars.
All right. For the benefit of the audience and the runtime of this video here, I'm just gonna speed through with all of my my rankings with one sentence or less. My favorite one, Episode 3. It is the best. I'm just gonna say that. Episode 5. I have written down I Am Your Father. That one moment. You had all the mystery with Boba and stuff. Luke coming to
You've
grips.
already failed your challenge.
Damn it. Okay,
Yep.
I'll explain later. Then end up for one.
No, you can keep going. Don't worry.
Episode 6, where they should have left it. That should have been the end. That's where they should have left it. Episode
movies.
7, it is a copy paste of episode 4, but it's shiny, new, and fun. Episode 4 is coming right after that. It's where it started, and it's basically this, and it's set in motion all of this. Then I have episode 2, and this is kind of like my bottom half. I've written down too much sand. Episode 9, too much fan service. Comes after that. Episode 1, Jar Jar is weird, Kid Anakin is annoying. And 8, now it's worth it.
I think that's the worst one of the worst lines ever spoken in Star Wars.
I'm sorry, just
Rose is awful.
Rose
in
is
that
awful.
Movie. Maybe they could do something with her in
Rose is
comics
awful.
or whatever, but
Casino Planet is bad. The entire Rebel arc is awful. Like the entire thing could have just been, "Yo, this is the plan," and literally the entire movie doesn't need to happen. As if Purple Hair Lady is just like, "Yo, this is what I'm doing. Let me tell you what's going on. Let me fill you in with the plan," instead of like.
But then Poe Dameron doesn't learn his lesson, and it was more important to discipline and teach Poe Dameron a lesson than to protect people.
But that could have
Protecting
been
your
like,
entire multi-quadrillion or whatever credits worth, dollars worth of like ships, ammunition, lives. Don't like. I'm sorry. Like Poe learning his lesson is not worth the life of my entire crew and army.
Well,
it's not.
To Admiral Holdo,
It is.
She
It
made
is
a
not worth
smart
it.
decision.
Anyway, my favorite trilogy, I will say, is the prequels, because the memes are the best. Prequel memes are inherently better than sequel memes and original trilogy memes. That's why I'm putting it there. Even though I have 5, 6, and 7 in my top 5, all in quick succession.
Really?
Just the prequel.
Can I
the
just
prequel
say
memes
before
are better.
Riley starts, just to rebuttal something Gino said?
Yeah.
Now It's Worth It is not the worst moment of episode 8. Now It's Worth
No,
It's like
that's
maybe
just the
top
line
3.
that I put. Now it's worth it because I knew Matteo
But
would get a rise.
the
out of it.
worst moment in episode 8 by far, again, is a Rose moment. It's the moment where she like stops Finn from like making a noble sacrifice, which would have actually worked for his character arc. And then what was her line? Something like, "If we can't protect the people."
It's that's not. This is how we win. Not by destroying what we hate, but by protecting what we love. Something like that.
They did nothing with
yeah,
that.
I think that's exactly the line, Riley. I think you got it. Exactly. You got it perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
100%. That's the worst one. Anyway, Riley's
Yeah.
rankings. Let's hear.
All right,
Remember
mine
Benicio
is
del
not going to be
Toro in
short,
episode
sweet. I
8?
am probably going to explain at least a little bit of why I picked what I did.
But
So I'm gonna
Riley,
do-
quick. Make
No.
it 4 for 4 for Revenge of the Sith is number 1.
That's not. I'm sorry to disappoint you. That is not going to happen. But so I'm going
You
to
are lost.
follow suit from Matteo and start with my least favorite, work my way up because it builds more suspense that way. And to start things off, I'm gonna have to. I think this is the lowest it's been. It's episode 9 for me. I did not like episode 9. I
You
understand.
liked it after the movie.
Yeah, but upon reflection, and also that's not true. I like parts of it. I didn't like the whole movie. You know why? I really did not like the ending. I didn't like how. And again, what I'm going to say is it was kind of destroyed by my expectations of what I thought that movie should have been, which I know isn't really fair to the movie, but it colored my judgment of it going forward.
That's
I really
fair,
didn't
okay.
like the ending. I didn't like how they just retconned over what I found the interesting parts of episode 8. I thought they missed a lot of opportunities to actually be interesting and instead opted to go for fan service. Like I thought I was excited when I thought they killed Chewie. Like I was happy. I was like, cool. I didn't expect that. And they're like, nah, don't worry about it. He's fine.
Thank
Like I thought that
God.
was just but that's just a scare moment, but then with no repercussion whatsoever. I thought that was just it played it too safe with a lot of the things. I thought the ending with Palpatine and Rey was cheesy, and like I can go on a tangent about this movie. It's bottom tier for me. Did not like it. Next one is Episode 1 for all the reasons people stated. I mean, there are parts I like, not very many. I find Anakin funny. I like imitating Boss Nass from time to time.
And
Uh,
Watto. Forgot about Watto.
Watto's fun. I like going. That's fun to me.
Yeah, that is very fun.
Yeah, that's about all I can say for one. It was. I think it definitely was the first Star Wars I saw in theaters, but it doesn't get many nostalgia points for me for that. Next is Episode 7.
Wow.
Yeah, I do not. I don't know if you could tell this, but in general, I don't like the sequel trilogy that much. My problem with 7 is I don't think it's a bad movie. Like when I first watched it, I thought it was really cool. But upon rewatches now, whenever I watch it, I just find it boring. If I'm being honest, like whole parts of the movie I can just do without. I like any part with Kylo. I'm just like the very beginning. I like a lot with Kylo. And I like watching the First Order blow up a whole bunch of planets. That always puts a smile on my face. But I don't know, just
Call that the Kanja Club.
yeah,
Build up the
that line
Conja Club.
I also enjoy. But a lot of Episode 7 I just kind of find boring when I rewatch it now. It has some cool effect. Like I think the thing I found most interesting about 7, honestly, the thing I found coolest about it was how much weight they gave to the feel of blasters, which is not a thing that I don't think any of the other movies really did.
Mhm.
Like when someone gets hit by it with a blaster in that movie, they go like it looks like it does a lot of damage, which is how they've always been portrayed in other media and the other
Yeah, with
movies.
like
is-
Chewie's
the
blaster.
bowcaster where it like sent
The
people flying.
bowcaster.
Yeah, I like that little detail. I didn't like, and this is a precedent it's set for the rest of the sequel trilogy. They seem to nerf the damage lightsabers did by a pretty significant margin, which I thought was kind of dumb.
Finn should have died.
Yeah, no kidding.
Finn should have died.
Honestly, probably Kylo should have as well, but whatever. I like Kylo, so I'm okay with him surviving it. But yeah, a bunch of characters should have been dead. Moving forward, after 7 is Episode 2, which is probably the highest anyone else put that because I don't know.
I put it at my fourth favorite also.
I think this is okay. You had it higher than me. This is my
No, like
okay.
sorry, like fourth. I put it like fourth last. Sorry.
Okay, so
Yeah.
then we're tied for it. But anyways, again, it's another movie where there's parts I thoroughly enjoy and some parts where I'm like, but I have a lot of nostalgia for it that doesn't transfer to Episode 1. I because of how they portrayed Django, I've always found that really cool. I like the idea of the clones. The Padme Anakin romance is pretty cringe, being honest, but
Mhm.
the parts on Tatooine I liked with them. I like Anakin's whole spiel about murdering Tusken Raiders. You know, that's very meme worthy. What else do I have to say about that? Oh, and I think Obi-Wan is great in that movie.
Oh,
Hmm.
I just forgot to mention with Episode 2, I think the Battle of Geonosis might be one of the best action scenes in Star Wars.
You're talking
I-
about okay,
Like the
yeah.
whole thing. The whole
Coliseum
thing.
scene.
I think the
The whole
Droid
thing, the
Factory, as someone
Coliseum.
once said, looks like a bad PS2 cutscene, which I
Yeah.
kind of agree with. But the stuff after that is pretty good.
Yeah, I'm talking about like the stuff in the Coliseum with like focusing on like them like getting attacked by the animals, like the suspense of that, and then when the clones and the Jedi come, like I think it's really cool.
Yeah,
But
I agree with that. I liked a lot of the stuff on Geonosis. Like, I think Episode 2 gets a bad rap. Like, I understand there's parts of it that are pretty painful, and a lot of the acting is kind of wooden. But I feel like that's a lot of Star Wars has that, and I think that one gets picked on unfairly.
well, those two things you just said, that's the entire Anakin Padme love plot in that whole movie. It was too long,
It-
and Hayden Christensen was a stick.
I mean, I admit it's also really weird to me that Padme see the the turning point for when Padme seemed to fall for Anakin was after he butchered an entire village of people. But
Yup.
whatever. Sometimes apparently people are turned on by psychopaths, but that's okay. Moving forward, the next one I'd say is episode 4. It's another one where I'd say like it's hard to say a bad thing about it, but I also think other movies do what it did better. It's the first one, obviously, has some great moments. I've like the Death Star run is, I think, iconic in cinema. But I don't know
A
when
lot
I
of
rewatch.
elements of episode 4 are like super iconic in cinema.
Yeah, but just it's another instance where I like the movie. It's definitely not to the same extent, but sometimes when I rewatch it, I'm a little bored going through it. I know that's blasphemy to say, and I still love that movie, but sometimes it's just like, and everything post Tanta 4, like everything on Tatooine until they get on the Millennium Falcon, I'm like, do I really have to watch this again? I don't know if anyone else feels like that. It feels like when you play a game and have to watch the tutorial or play the tutorial.
That's a very good comparison. Sometimes I feel that way sometimes, but I think when I do feel that way, that's a fantastic comparison.
Yep.
Next one is episode 6 for me, and so I really
don't
like
like
6.
Ewoks.
Yeah, I really like the thing I think about 6. What holds it back? Like I think it has some of the highest highs of the series, but the Ewoks are also one of its lowest lows in my opinion. Like Ewok stuff is to me like almost episode 1 level. I I don't like Ewoks. But I think the battle in the throne room is amazing. That whole finale, honestly, even the Ewok stuff when it's combined in that finale, I think that's a fantastic job. Like every character of the main cast gets to do something important during that, and I think that's really neat. I think it has really good emotional beats with Luke and Vader. Palpy gets to do his Palpy things, which is nice. And then I really like
Mhm.
Jabba's palace because
Ah,
Boba
yeah,
gets to do his, yeah.
I was about to ask you
And
something about that.
the fantastic
Um,
musical numbers in that.
Hey
yeah,
Never
Riley,
forget.
can you
and
give us
that's
a certain
only in
impersonation?
Okay. Do you guys want a Salacious Crumb impersonation?
yes.
Yes.
I think actually we need to hear it. It gets me every time. So good.
Yeah, I think Discord may have like
Yeah, I might have broken
overloaded a
Discord
little
and
bit
someone's
there.
eardrums, but I
It's okay.
apologize. But
Um, but
Oh,
hey,
Salacious Crumb.
some people absolutely hate like the CG add-on, the CG add-ons that George Lucas put on in the original trilogy. But I think it really helps Episode 6.
I
It
see
does.
that's if I'm full disclosure, I don't think I've ever seen it without the CGI, so I don't
Yeah,
have
it's
anything to
really
compare
hard
it
to
to.
like every re-release. Almost every re-release has had the CG and like
Yeah, like I think we were
adding
born
the
too late to
number.
actually see the original
Yeah,
ones.
The Max Rebo band is great.
Max Rebo Band. Yep.
Okay, I got to hear your number 3.
By number 3, so the number 3 and number 2 change for me depending on the day, but I feel like today is the day where episode 3 goes at number 3.
Only because we all said number 1, but
Yeah,
continue.
also that because I'm a bit of a contrarian. But yeah, like I can't say anything bad about episode. I love episode 3. Um, I know where
Then
other
what's
people,
episode? Then what's number 2?
you know what episode 2 is.
It better not
Number
be
2.
Episode 2 is number 2 again.
No, but
Damn.
anyways, as anyone who's watched movies with me knows, I laugh at really bad moments, and episode 3 has a lot of those. Like Jules will attest to this. Like actually I'm not getting into specifics, but episode like Order 66 is one of those moments where it always puts a huge smile on my face, even though it shouldn't, because I'm a bad person.
Yeah, Riley laughs at like highly emotional deaths in most movies.
It's apparently it's a problem, but
He destroyed the Amazing Spider-Man 2 for me upon
that
laughing
movie destroyed itself.
when Gwen
Yep.
Stacy snapped her neck, and I was mortified, and he just laughing. But to be
Jules,
fair, I understand why he was laughing because it was like the
it was
web
not a good
became
movie up until that point.
the
I
web.
also had that moment in episode 9 when Palpatine did the Force lightning. I just looked over. I was laughing so hard. I
That
thought
was
everyone
pretty
was
funny.
dying.
This is
Uh,
wacky.
But yeah, so I really liked Order 66. I think Jedi are kind of pompous dicks, so don't mind watching that. I like Anakin's arc. I like a whole lot of that. Like I like the fights. I like Palpy. I think the opening scene is really cool. The dogfighting with the Jedi starfighters is neat.
with fire,
Oh.
was it fire rescue
That
clone
movie,
troopers?
like
Oh.
of all, in my opinion, part of the reason why episode 3 is so good is because of all the Star Wars movies, I would say it's the only one that doesn't really have a boring segment. Like, there's no weird, like, subplot where they get trapped in a crater or they're just, like, biding time on a planet. Like, I actually feel like the whole movie is interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes that goes against it's to its detriment because it never gives us time to focus on one thing that's really interesting. Like I would have liked to see more of Anakin's attack on the temple instead of it flashing away all the time.
Riley, let's be honest. You would rather see more Anakin killing younglings.
I'm neither going to confirm nor deny that.
What's
And
your number
another thing I
2?
like about 3 is I think it's the most it's definitely of all of the movies, it's the most tragic, which is I like.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
the
what's your
one where
number
you
2?
come out of it feeling bad. Unless you're a Palpatine or like Dark Side fan, in which case you can kind of come out of it feeling feel, feeling a little chipper. But yeah, I really like episode 3. I wish I could put it higher, but right now I feel like I have to defend my number 2, which is I might get flack for it, but it's episode 8. I think episode 8 gets of all the Star Wars movies, I think it's the most underrated. Sure, admittedly it has its flaws. There's certain things when I rewatch I hate, like I don't a lot of Holdo's decision making I find questionable. I think the hyperspace thing is kind of game breaking and dumb, and it bothers me to watch sometimes. And the as Mateo, I know it's Mateo's favorite part, but I'm sorry to bash it. I think that casino planet does get a little dull, and it's
I
a little
hate the
bit.
casino
I
planet.
I'm well aware that was a joke. I
Yeah.
think it was unnecessary and it dragged on a little too long. Like I understand what they were trying to do. I like the message they were trying to give with Benicio del Toro's character was a DJ. I like the
Yeah.
trying to implement shades of gray into Star Wars, which is usually very black and white. And I like episode 8 because of how subversive it tries to be. Like I very much enjoyed Luke's characterization. I think that's a realistic,
Slash
realist,
agree.
realistic evolution of someone who, for his entire life, succeeded at almost everything. Was everyone looked to as this hero, and then he failed really hard and he hated himself because of it. I think that's with that much regret and grief. I think you could easily become like that. You don't know what it's like to be Luke Skywalker, so don't judge him for how he turned out. All right.
It's very like, and it's also what's incredible about it upon hindsight is like knowing that Snoke was an agent of Palpatine. It's ultimately Palpatine figured, and like that's the thing is Palpatine figured this out before he died in Episode 6. Is he was trying so hard to turn Luke, and he wasn't able to tempt Luke. The only time he was able to get a bit of dark side out of him is when he talked about like turning Leia, because for Luke, what shifts him to the dark side isn't failing like he himself failing, it's him failing others. And so like that moment, that glimpse of seeing how he could turn Luke played into his plan of like, if I make Luke feel like he fails his nephew, that's what's gonna destroy him. Is ultimately it's like there's no other way to corrupt Luke other than making him feel like he let down the people he loves.
All right. Well, I wasn't going to say that because I don't like the fact that Palpatine was shoehorned into 9.
I know you don't, but I'm just saying, like upon hindsight, there's some like interesting stuff there. Anyway, before you say your number one, can I just throw something
There's
in?
still stuff about 8 I want to talk about. Sorry, but go
Oh,
on.
okay, go ahead.
Well, sorry. Another thing I want to say is I very much like the characterization of Kylo in that movie. I like Kylo
Yes.
and Rey. I think it was interesting seeing Rey go through her training. I liked their little budding romance they had. I thought it was kind of cute. I like the twists and turns with that. And I like Kylo's development. After episode 8, I was the biggest Kylo fan because I was excited for where it go next with his story. Him being Supreme Leader of the First Order. I thought at that point he'd surpassed Vader. He'd done what Vader could never do, which was kill his master.
Yeah,
And
it seemed like he was beyond redemption. It felt like they were going to go in a direction after episode 8 where like they weren't going to pull Vader with him and he wasn't going to be redeemed.
Yeah, and
And even
I
if they
was
did redeem him, like I wish they had done like a non-Vader redemption, not like
I didn't like how Kylo climbed to the top and then was immediately made into a bitch again. But in episode 9.
Yeah. Just completely unrelated, but made me think about something when you said shoehorn Palpatine. What I like about Star Wars is that even when they mess up and shoehorn things into the movies, they do a good job of expanding on them later, like as we're seeing in The
Not-
Mandalorian.
And with
But-
Not
Clone
during
Wars
though.
and
Not
past.
during, but one thing that apparently just got revealed in the comics, which I like, and this was something that people had said like early on, because people were like, "You think Palpatine just started making that fleet after he died?" Like, no, that was always his end game. Like that's what people were saying. They're like, Palpatine was a master planner, and if you think that he wasn't planning the final order from like the very beginning, you're wrong. And they actually just revealed that in Star Wars now. It's like literally like he goes to Exegol with Vader and he's like, "Yo, look at these starship fleet I'm making," and he shows him.
I mean, that's a pretty big retcon, I reckon, but
Yeah, but there you go.
before you went on that tangent, what was I saying?
You're on number 1 now.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I really like 8. I like a lot about it. I think it gets too much flack. Should give it another try. Stop hating it just because it's different. Yeah, number 1, obviously Empire Strikes Back. It's just like the character development's fantastic, the cinematography's fantastic. Introduced the Imperial March, which is possibly the most iconic cinema score of all time.
Boba is cool.
Boba's cool. But anyways, like I don't know what I can say about 5 that does it justice. I think 5 is just the epitome of what a Star Wars movie should be. And I will die on this hill. I think episode 5 has the best lightsaber fight in the series.
It is a good one.
Not because it's not about the lightsaber; it's about the dialogue.
That too, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
its
anyways.
choreography is not the best, but the fight itself, like that scene, is my favorite of
Yeah.
the scenes featuring lightsaber fights. I don't know if y'all could tell, but the original trilogy is my favorite.
Shoot. Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah,
we've
I
been
think
talking for quite a while, so I feel like we should wrap it up. But
Mhm.
I feel like we all had some pretty good opinions. Mine was obviously the best one, but
Uh-huh.
Viva la sequel trilogy, and we hope you enjoy your May the 4th. Hopefully, some cool Star Wars stuff gets announced today, because we actually are recording this like literally it's May the 4th, like as we
As of
are
right
talking
now,
about it.
yeah,
Like,
it's like
we're
past midnight, so
yeah, so we are, but we hope some stuff gets announced today, and maybe if there is, we'll have a follow-up episode. But now you know our
Yeah.
Star Wars opinions. Now you know who to like, who to not like. Now you know who to take seriously, who to not take seriously. And you know, like, subscribe, follow, comment, watch
unless
us
you
on
like episode
Spotify.
1, then
Watch us on,
don't.
yep. And as always, if you support Gino,
In Smash
unsubscribe.
Bros.
If you like Gotham, unsubscribe.
If you like Halo 4, unsubscribe, please.
Halo 4 isn't that bad.
Halo 4 is pretty bad.
Is it Gotham level, Riley?
Yes.
Is
No.
it
Mateo?
Barbara?
No, it's
is
not.
Is it Barbara
It's not.
Keene became the lover of Ra's al Ghul and stabbed him in the heart?
Who's
Is it
Barbara
Fish
Keene?
Mooney?
Um, uh, Gordon's
Jim
wife.
Gordon. Yeah.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for listening, everyone. It was great to have you. We'll
That's
see you
pretty
next
terrible.
time. Bye.
That's pretty bad.
Uba.
Fuck, I forgot about Uba.
We should insert a Tusken Raider, Gino.